evening, everyone. My name is Laura Shippen, and I am calling the meeting of the Select Board to order on April 29th, 2025 at 6 p.m. I have a roll call vote, please.
Veronica Cal.
Not a vote. I always do that.
Roll call. Veronica Cal present.
Valerie Goodrich present.
And welcome.
Thank you.
And Laura Shippen present. With us is Nelson and Sabrina, and we do have some in the audience. And is anyone else recording either online or in?
No.
Okay, Cindy King is recording. Anyone else? All right, thank you. The meeting is being recorded and uploaded to YouTube. And I already did confirmation of who is recording. 1.4, Chairman's.
You skipped 1.2.
Thank you.
I said,
Must be a different day.
you gotta tell us what we're doing.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I apologize. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All of our veterans and all of those currently serving here and abroad, all of our emergency response people, and you can move the camera. Because of and their families. We certainly owe them a debt of service. We're hearing them a lot lately too, so thank them. Under additions and deletions, we are deleting the minutes of March 10th, 2025 and March 11th, 2025, since these minutes were approved in the previous meeting and added to the agenda in error. No minutes to approve in this current meeting. Minutes for March 18th, 2025 and March 19th, 2025 moved to the next meeting of May 6th. So that takes care of the deletion of 1.5. Nothing under appointments and hearings. Under 3, we have 3.1. Is there a motion?
I move to appoint Ian Arujo as summer intern to the water department with effective start date of 5/19/2025.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
This is a general discussion for all these appointments.
Okay.
I was wondering if any of these are related to any town employees and if any disclosures need to be filed for any of the appointments.
Do we know?
3.3 is related to the
How about 3.2?
I'm not sure.
I would check on that with another water department employee. Possibility, I don't really know, but I just want to make sure that all disclosures are in place.
Do you want to add to the motion to amend that?
No, I would appoint anyway. I just want to make sure that
The disclosures
that if
are in
any
place.
disclosures are needed, that they are put in place.
Okay.
So,
Any other discussion? None. Everyone in favor?
aye.
None.
We didn't have anybody remote today, do we? We
No.
don't have to do
Oh, we're
roll call.
right.
Yeah.
We don't have to say our names anymore. We can just vote. All right, 3.2. Is there a motion?
I move to appoint Connor Tassini as summer intern to the water department with effective start date of 6/23/2025.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Any discussion? Same as before regarding the disclosures. Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, my comment before was top for all three of them.
Yes. Okay. 3.3.
I move to appoint Lucas Kazanjian as summer intern to the water department with effective start date of 6/23/2025.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Thank you. 3.1. 4.1, sorry. Reorganization of select board. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to reorganize the select board as follows. Laura Schifrin, Chair, Veronica Kell, Vice Chair, Valerie Goodrich, Clerk.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Additional duties for clerk?
You get to make the motions from now on. I
That's
think it's the way it
fine.
works.
That's just making sure.
And then you would be seconding?
I would be the
Okay.
second, yeah.
So this is,
But the trustees, we did a little different, so I was just making sure.
generally what I used to hear them say was the last one in was always the clerk.
That's fine with me.
Same on me.
No desire for the other ones.
Was the same. Okay, no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I. 4.2, reorganization of select board liaison assignments.
Do you want me to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I moved to assign Laura Schifrin to the following liaisons.
And I think you would look here, yeah.
Let's see sorry. Past my point.
And actually, I think we need to,
Adapt.
do we want to discuss
Yeah,
this
discuss.
first? Yeah, let's just discuss
Okay,
first.
so,
I think that makes sense.
yeah,
Okay.
So you now basically need to process except for Veronica. But we have been involved in the town hall before, so there's a lot of boards that we are more familiar with than others. And my thoughts, as long as you're new, but you still have library trustee. I mean, there's certain ones that are probably
Yeah.
better suited for
Yeah.
all of us.
Yeah.
So if we could just go through the list, not necessarily the government, the way it's set up now. But if we could just go through the list and say, yeah, I'll take that one, or yeah, I'll take that one, okay, and we'll redo the list, because it'll make a lot more sense.
I think we should do the big groups and then go through and say, are there any within each of the big groups that would be better suited for a particular individual because they are on that board or whatever.
I'm good with going, okay, well, I'm good with going through, but I want to go through each one,
Yeah, I
Okay.
agree, but I think,
and I don't have a copy of the list, I don't believe.
you don't?
It's
I
snuck
do.
in there.
I do.
Yeah.
I do, sorry.
I would, right now, I'm general government and public safety. So I would put Valerie for general government for the most part. But then there may be specific ones in there. I would keep public safety and you would keep elected boards because we've only been a few months and why change it at this point when people are getting
All
used
right,
to it?
fine, we can, all right.
And then on the back, there are the committee assignments that we have. And that these are the things that you go to as a select board member, you get assigned to these. We can look at those too. But does that make sense? And now, so in general, do it with the big groups, but then let's go through each and see if there's any that
Okay,
makes sense, as opposed to a single as opposed to,
okay, so we'll go through the list for Valerie, which is general government.
Mhm.
And so my thoughts on one is yes, to bylaw review committee.
bylaw review committee we should talk about. I'm an appointed member to that committee, not as a select board member or anything like that. I'm a current appointed member to that committee. So I could keep that one.
Okay,
But on this list, further down, we're going to need to change the chair of that committee and the address. So this committee hasn't met in a while. So
there's a lot of updates that have to be made.
Yeah.
And not just here, but on the website. So hopefully we'll
Yeah,
just,
because I'm not sure the trustees are either.
So I don't even know who all is appointed to that committee right now, but it was reappointed last June or something like that. And so, but I would keep that one if in fact I am a member of that committee.
and Bill Cadigan he resigned.
Right, so if it's okay with everybody, I would keep the bylaw review committee
So
until such time as I'm not a member of that.
I think it makes sense if there's a sitting member to not have two.
Yeah, well, we couldn't, then we'd have to post as a
Yeah.
meeting, so.
Okay, and so right now, just so that you know, there is no master plan committee,
Mhm.
and that is part of planning board.
Yep.
And they usually assign that, so I don't have a problem with it staying there.
The only one I would change maybe is housing authority, only because, I sometimes go to those meetings, because of
Is
housing
that in
trust.
general?
Yes. Housing
Yeah, it is.
authority, it's under flag committee.
Yeah.
So, and let me look on the back here. I'm not listed as I'm the, select board appointed member on the Affordable Housing Trust. And that isn't here. For some reason. I don't know why.
So there's-
Maybe because I'm not a liaison. I am the appointed member. The
It is a
Affordable
committee.
Housing Trust is,
that should be put
Yeah.
on here,
yeah,
on the list of committee assignments.
yeah. And so sometimes I go to, or we have joint meetings, that sort of thing.
I'm okay with that. All right. So I'm good with the whole rest.
Yeah.
that
I
you
am
have.
too.
Okay, so public safety is Veronica.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with you keeping all of that.
Okay. What about you, Valerie?
It's fine with me. If you need
Okay.
anybody to switch, anything, just let me know.
Okay.
I'll get up to speed slowly, so.
So on elected board, yes, that would. That's on school committee?
I mean, I'm happy to if you want me to.
Yes. And recreation.
I mean,
I'm trying to
if,
keep all cultural.
yeah, I was gonna say, because recreation kind of works with library and senior
Yes.
center, so that's fine.
Yes.
So you're gonna take that one, Valerie?
Yeah. And I know Emmy, so.
Recreation. I kind of want to keep all of that.
I love recreation commission
And school committee?
and school committee. Just-
Recreation, school committee.
It's good, because I took 2 out of that.
Yeah.
Government.
Yeah, okay.
So it's perfect.
All right, so now I'm back. Oh, you would be, we would have the Townsend Cultural Council. So, small town, yeah, can she do that? Small town collaborative, that's under me. Does it have to be the chair?
No, but
That would be a good experience.
Okay.
they meet once a month on Friday morning.
9:00 here.
Oh,
Or you-
once a month.
Yeah, you know.
Once a month.
or you can
Friday
do it.
morning is the one morning. In the fall, I won't be able to do Friday mornings.
We can share.
Okay,
Let me
We'll go
know
back
when you
and forth,
can,
yeah.
okay?
There is a Zoom option.
okay.
Yes,
Yeah, I
but if
have
she's
a,
doing something else, she can.
yeah, Friday morning
Zoom
obligation.
doesn't work, yeah.
during the school year. But yeah,
Well, we can, if somebody can't make something, we
absolutely.
can.
Yeah.
Um,
and it would be good for me
certainly
to
cover it.
get an idea of what's going on.
Experience.
Yeah.
And then so Veronica,
I think everything else under these committee assignments, I think we should just leave as is, because it's usually the fall where those assignments are made. And we can change it up at that point.
Yeah.
Just leave it as is for now. For continuing things through the
I'm
year.
really good with.
Okay, sounds good to me. All right, so do we need a motion for this?
Now I can have a lovely motion. I move to assign Lori Schifrin to following liaisons. Elected boards, commissions, officials, except for North Middlesex and Recreation,
And two others,
and Cultural Council and Small Town Collaborative,
which go to,
which will be assigned to me instead.
In general government.
Yeah.
And then out of general government,
Yep, out of general government would move Bylaw Review Committee and Housing Authority to Veronica Kell. Public safety stays the same. I think that was it, right?
change anything else.
all right, second.
Oh, one.
What?
Do you want to be the MRPC alternate?
Let's wait until the fall for that.
No, it's not fall.
Well, the assignments usually get done in the fall for MRPC.
Oh, yeah, I have to finish anyway through June 30th.
Yeah, so it's usually after that we do the
Okay,
assignments.
that's fine.
Fall, first part of the fiscal year,
Okay.
so.
Did you follow us, Sabrina?
Yeah.
Sorry for all the back and forth. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, is everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That was painless.
Want to consider moving 4.7 to the front or ahead, because we have some folks here.
Sure. If the board, if it pleases the board,
Absolutely.
we can move down to 4.7. Use of second generation anti-coagulant rodenticides.
Rodenticides.
Rodenticides, sorry, in Townsend. And why is there an unmoved to here?
In case there was a motion, but.
Okay, did you want to make a presentation?
Or talk?
I could do a little one.
Little was fine.
I didn't realize until sort of the last minute that we were doing this tonight. Should I come up to the table?
Sure.
And I do think the more full-blown discussion will be at a different date. I think it might be a joint meeting with the Board of Health.
Right.
I think Montechusett wanted.
Neshoba Board of Health.
Oh, you mean the show, oh, they wanted.
Neshoba,
Oh, they
yeah,
wanted to come.
Neshoba is the
Okay.
one that wrote the letter,
Okay,
when we're talking about rodenticides.
But the letter we have here is from the Townsend Board of Health.
Okay,
If I can
look at that.
interrupt, the chair of the
Is that
Board of
the
Health
same?
is on Zoom.
pardon me?
The chair of the Board of Health is on Zoom.
If I may, Ms. Chairman?
Yes.
Hi. Well, I'm doing okay. I apologize if I don't sound clear. I have a swelling after a root canal procedure that I had on Saturday. It's kind of infected. So the Board of Health had received some citizens that presented their concerns about first and second generation rodenticides. I think and they presented to us their concerns about how this can affect wildlife, like on the owls and things like that. And we, the board, decided to send a letter to the Board of Selectmen as supporting their concerns about it. And I have Rick McCraft from who wrote the letter on behalf of the Board of Health, and Jennifer who's here, who was going to present about that. Basically, what the board wanted is the Board of Health wants is that for the Board of Selectmen to acknowledge the letter and provide us a response preferably a written response about their thoughts about the rodent sites, first and second generation rodent sites, um, uh, uh, and having that not to be used on town property is their concern, and that's what we were supporting. We are supporting them on their concern about that. So that's why we sent a letter to the board and for further discussion for your consideration.
Can I say something?
Yes.
The letter is asking for a response by May 27th. I just want to note that.
Yes.
So, right, so it's not necessarily that we need to respond today.
Right.
No, no.
We do acknowledge that
Okay.
we received it, and we are planning to have a joint meeting
That's what I heard. Yes.
before that date. We're hoping to, yes.
I would also like to hear from our provider, one of
Yes, hopefully
Massachusetts.
it'll be the same meeting, hopefully.
Yeah,
That's the plan.
okay.
The big joint meeting. We'll have
Yeah.
everyone.
We won't respond until after we have all that information.
Do we have a date for that?
No, I thought we would do that tonight.
We might go over some dates for the upcoming few months. Now with Valerie on board, she might have a different schedule than
Okay,
what you guys had decided.
all right.
Because I think you guys kind of set a preliminary schedule through July, I want to say, for select board meetings.
We did.
So we might, want to share with Valerie later in
Yeah.
the meeting to
And
see
that's
what, if she's able to make those dates.
All right.
We need to change them.
Okay.
Do we want to read the letter? Is that, or the thing, my understanding is that the contract with the pest control provider is usually made in June. Is that correct? At least last year, I believe
In
that.
June 1st, starting July 1st.
Yeah, it's
probably.
usually for the fiscal year.
I would like to move this along as fast as we can, because the longer we have rodenticides out, there's animals giving birth now, feeding their babies, poisoned rodents. And so the sooner we could make a decision, hopefully in favor of going to another alternative. There are not many alternatives, but there are alternatives, could be done as soon as possible. Because I think I wrote a letter last year in 2024 trying to address this.
None of us were here, so.
Right.
Did you want to read the letter into the record?
Shall we?
Sure.
Excuse me, my allergies are
Do you want
off
me to
the
read it for
charts.
you? Do you want me to read
You
it
probably
for
have a better voice.
I'm happy to. Thank you. To whom it may concern, I'm going to butcher names, I'm sorry. Recently, a group of residents led by Jennifer Petit, yes, presented to the Townsend Board of Health on the harmful effects that the use of anticoagulant rodenticides can have on the environment. Anticoagulant rodenticides are a group of potent poisons designed to kill animals by preventing the clotting of blood, resulting in internal bleeding that causes a slow and painful death. These poisons can take days to work, and when the affected animal becomes a prey, it can cause severe consequences for birds, mammals, and other animals, as well as our ecosystem. Further, these anticoagulants have been proven to persist in both soil and water. According to the National Pesticide Information Center, these poisons break down in the soils 45 to 78% after 21 days and 50% in water after 392 days. Please refer to the attached petition from the Harvard Law School for additional information on the harmful effects of these poisons. After listening to the presentation by the residents and completing independent research on the subject, the Townsend Board of Health voted to send this letter to you to encourage you as our town leaders to take action. The town of Air and several other towns recently adopted the attached policy on the use of second-generation anticoagulant rodenticides, and the Townsend Board of Health is asking that you adopt the same or similar for the town of Townsend. This policy would prohibit the use of second-generation anticoagulant rodenticides on town-owned property and set an example for the rest of the town. Should the Board of Selectmen choose not to adopt a policy prohibiting the use of these poisons on town property, the Board of Health may choose to adopt a set of regulations that would accomplish the same. Please let the Board of Health know if you have any questions or if we can connect you with a group of residents that approach us so that you can make an informed decision. We look forward to your future discussion on this topic, especially Town's Board of Health.
We are requesting a written response.
Oh, sorry, that was not on my,
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
not.
on-
Yeah.
on my-
We are requesting a written response by May 27th, 2025, and look forward for your future discussion on this topic.
Thank you.
No worries.
And it is our intent to do that. To respond prior to May 27th. So we're gonna try to
Okay.
get us all together before that.
I thought I would hand these around. There's one, two, those. This is, I can
Go ahead.
hold this up if you, it just lists the number of all the different animals that are affected by rodenticides, all the way from insects up to I became aware of it when, a bald eagle was poisoned in Arlington. And that was the beginning of Save Arlington Wildlife. There's different groups. There's Save Lexington Wildlife. We started a group out here, Save Neshoba Valley Wildlife. And you can get much information. There's Raptors Are the Solution. I can read off just information that I have here pretty quickly. One thing that it doesn't indicate on this toxic food web poster is that 25,549 children were sickened by rodent poison from 1990 to 2003. We're forming national and regional groups are mobilizing to educate the public about the serious threats from second generation anticoagulant rodenticides. We refer to those as SAGARs, SGARS. When you see that, that's what it represents. And it's lethal poisoning of non-target wildlife. Because they are so unsafe, SAGAR's sales to individuals was banned by the federal government in 2014. Bald eagles, hawks, owls, and mammals in Massachusetts are dying from internal hemorrhaging after eating SAGAR's treated rodents. So a rodent can eat these poisons and live sometimes I've heard anything from 3 to 8 days. And while they're alive, they're ingesting more and more rodenticides, so they're becoming more and more deadly. Wildlife clinics and wildlife rehabilitators are seeing SAGAR's deadly effects. Tufts Wildlife Clinic has found it in 100% of red-tailed hawks, and at the time this was written was 95% of bald eagles. I think at this point it may be up to 100%. In Massachusetts, we know that there were 4 bald eagles poisoned by rodenticides. What's happening now, like with a bald eagle that I believe was found locally, 2 were found locally, but they were tested for bird flu. And if a bird is tested for bird flu, then they don't go on and test for rodenticide. So that bird could have been impacted by rodenticides, but it's not tested for. Excuse me. SAGARs are killing our most effective rodent exterminators, our birds of prey, our foxes, coyotes, bobcat, and other predators. One barred owl consumes approximately 4,000 mice and 1,000 rats annually. SAGARs persist in soil and water. That was in the letter. In soil, it breaks down 45 to 78% in 21 days. In water, it remains at 50% potency after 392 days. And that information is from the National Pesticide Information Center. MSPCA Angel reports treating dozens of cats and dogs annually for SAGARs. And I read to you about the children. And then you have the letter, here it says, we, the Board of Health, advocate for safe rodent control. And urge town government, businesses, and individuals to question their commercial rodent control providers. They should inquire about the use of SAGARs and ask to see what companies are using in bait boxes. They're usually, well, they say they're usually bright blue or green. Around the town hall, they look like gray boulders. And usually they're black, the black boxes with holes on the ends. And speaking with our provider for the town in Townsend, one of the employees, I was told that Rat X or Mouse X, which is considered a safe alternative because they don't cause secondary poisoning. They're not anticoagulants. They will poison the rodent, but if a hawk eats the rodent, it won't impact them. But that the concern was whether they had appropriate wafers in these black boxes. In the pest boxes, there's a rack that the poisons hang on, or the rodent controls hang on. And I was told they didn't think that Rat X or Mouse X had wafers with holes in them. Well, I Googled and called around, and Sally Coyhu found that, yes, they do have them. And today I was in the town of Concord, and they haven't used first or second generation rodenticides on their properties for years. They have on I think it's number 36 on their town warrant is for the entire town of Concord to ban the use of SAGARs. And on my other folder, I have lists of different communities that do, and I can get you those lists. I'll try and get you information to review. And when I spoke with someone in the maintenance department at the DPW, I said, is there much more of an expense if, say, we were to go from first generation rodenticides to Rat X or Mouse X, which is considered a safe control, and that's what many other communities like Concord use. And he said no, he felt it was minimal. I can get you the name of the people that I spoke with there and their numbers, at least for Concord. I could go even further and get more if you like. But that's essentially what it is. In town, I just two or 3 weeks ago had a report of a dead barred owl over off of Pierce Road. Before I fully understood about rodenticides, I found a dead gray horned owl about a mile from here in the Adams land, the old sand pit. And I examined it closely. I ruffled its feathers and everything. I found nothing indicating that animal had been shot, attacked by another animal, nothing. It looked like it had just landed and lay down and died. And that was the same with the barred owl. And that's what I hear with the different owls. So essentially what's happening is we're killing off our main wild animals that protect us from rats and mice. Everything, as I say, they're even finding it in otters in the river. There is I should mention this too, I don't know if any of your packets, the Harvard Law School Animal Law and Policy Clinic, on May 13th, 2024, they have a petition to suspend the registration of anticoagulant rodenticide products in all of Massachusetts. So you have that in your packet.
Yes.
If you have any questions about rodenticides or poisonings, you will find the answer in in this information from the Harvard Law School.
When is this coming up with them?
I'm not sure. There's a bill before the legislature.
Don't worry, Jim.
Okay, I can get that to you. That's coming up. And actually, the bill before the legislature for public comment, I think the public comment ends tomorrow, being Wednesday, the 30th.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. I'm sure we'll see you again.
Well, thanks.
Okay. Is there anything else that you wanted to go
Nope. That's it.
Should we set up a date and time for a joint meeting with Board of Health, and are they still on?
Could you speak up, please?
I'm still here.
Okay,
Okay, I'm just wondering if while we still have Board of Health on, we should look
Yes.
for a date. And then invite Massachusetts either before or during or at that meeting or whatever.
I can do the 13th.
The 13th would be on a cycled meeting.
Okay, we have cycled for 2 months.
I know exactly. I'm just pointing,
Twice a week.
I know, I'm just pointing out that Valerie, the select board typically meet the
Every other.
first and third Tuesday of the month.
But I can't say that that's what's been happening.
I'd
That's
expect
not
it.
what's been happening, but,
After the town meeting
Are you good with
season.
the
I'm okay with the 13th. What about?
Okay.
That'll be next Tuesday. 2 weeks from Tuesday.
Yes.
A week from
2
today.
weeks from now.
A week from, no, 2 weeks.
2 weeks from today?
Yes.
What day?
We really can't do the 6th. The 13th. 2 weeks from
I
today.
think the 13th we have board meeting. Am I correct, Carla?
Well, that might be perfect then.
Yes, why don't we do it jointly? And for that particular part of it anyway.
Uh,
Carla on?
let me check here.
Hey, Kristen, it's Rick. We do have our next meeting on the 13th, so it would work out well.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be
Thank you,
perfect.
Rick.
Well,
That
let's
would be
do it on the third. Let's do it on our joint meeting then on
May 13th.
May 13th. Yes,
Do you want to do that at, what time do you start your meeting?
we start at 6.
Do you want to do it at 6? I mean, do you want to do it at the same time here? Do you want to do it at 7? They can finish theirs and we can get into ours.
Either way is fine with me. What works best for them?
What works best for you? Start at
I
the same
think
time.
I think after we have our business meeting, we can definitely do it afterwards, so that since we're gonna have more people and give some time to this, I think we can do it after our meeting. We can join the select board on
7:15.
having the select board and meeting
What
after our
time
meeting.
after 7 do you want to do it? What time after 7? 7, 7:15, 7:30?
7:15 will be fine.
Okay. There we have it, 7:15 on the 13th.
Okay.
Will you meet us here? Will you come up when you're done?
I think we can meet you on your chambers. Yes, Ms. Chairwoman.
Thank you. Good, okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Veronica, for,
And then that gives us another
we
week
still
to,
have that.
if we want to work on a policy or whatever. So, yeah,
And give
I
us
think
time.
that's
Or the
good.
letter, to draft a letter
That's, yeah,
before the 27th.
yeah,
Okay, we should be good.
that takes time.
Okay.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you.
Was the provider gonna be invited to, or?
We're
Yes,
gonna, I'm gonna send out an emails. They did want to meet with us, so.
Yeah.
Let's hope they can meet.
in 2 weeks should be fine for them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And welcome to the board.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so next we have discussion of the annual town election results. Happy to have
I'm gonna
Valerie.
give this to you.
Thank you so much. And I'll take 30 seconds to thank everybody in town for their support. It's very nice to see. And I hope that you give me patience as I get up to speed on everything. And I have my email up and going. So if you have any questions, reach out. I know things can get contentious in town a little bit, so I'll make a small appeal to the angels of our better nature to ask before you assume, and just send me an email because I'm new if you're not sure. Obviously, anything I say here is fair game, but if it's anything else, just pop me an email. And I also want to give a kudos to our town. Just in driving around today, almost all the signs are down, and that was really nice to see how quickly, after the vote, that everybody kind of moves along for next week. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's, a testament, despite how contentious it could get, that, it's a lot of goodwill there. So thanks everybody. And like I said, shoot me an email if you have any questions. I'm not really on social media, so that's the best way to get a hold of me. You're welcome to come walk the dog with me or anything on the bike trail and chat for a while. So I'm around.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, and one last thing too, just, I'm sorry if you don't mind me.
No, go ahead.
60 seconds, whatever. In coming into this position, one of the things that I've been finding a little difficult is the proximity of the election to the town meeting, and how that week is a lot for me to get up to speed on a process that I listened in on but wasn't involved in. So if I abstain from anything, it's just from lack of comfort with things that happened before. I was not from lack of opinion as a former trustee or as a taxpayer, but just because I wasn't involved in the process before today. So that's the only reason I might abstain from some votes for the next.
Some of us who have been in the entire process may feel the same way.
Yeah, and so and so again, drop me an email. I can usually explain why. And it was, I'm fortunate that I know select board members from other towns, and that's the first thing they said is a lot of them it's flipped.
I think we should look at that.
Because it does,
charter.
the people presenting the budget, if one of them leaves right before it's presented at the town meeting every year, it's an interesting position to be in. And I know on the trustees, I experienced that with, we'd bring a new member in, their first meeting would be like, oh, there's a budget, and they haven't been involved in that. So it's just something to think about for discussions for the future.
When we look at policies.
Yeah, we're looking at policies.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, good point.
The charter.
Mm-hmm.
And I've talked to some, I think I talked to Kathy about it and a couple other people, so I have some ideas of what would be required, but I'm not knowledgeable enough, so welcome any thoughts on that.
Remember, we're not long timers.
Oh,
to
I
this
know, I know.
position either. So,
I don't think anybody in town is a long timer to many things.
well,
Yeah.
I can't say that.
Yeah, some of the boards, yeah.
As far as being in town hall, but
Yeah.
as far as being in this position,
Yeah.
it's different than the others.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd like to congratulate everyone else who did win
Absolutely.
for their seats this time around. And I will still mention that we have plenty of positions available, appointed as well as elected. Of course, now the election's over. So if you're interested in filling one of the vacancies.
There were a couple where the same write-in for two positions on the same board.
Yeah,
So there
and-
might be some appointments that could be made there. I don't know how that works.
Well, though, there's two different people for the two different positions. They both were written in for the two positions. One of them won,
Mm-hmm.
and depending on which one that person would
Oh,
accept,
they
then the
pick
other
which
one, as
Okay.
long as we know that there's interest, we'll certainly reach out
Okay.
to those people. What we didn't see was a lot of the other scatters. We don't have names on who the other scattered people were. So whoever is on those committees. If those names could be gotten from the town clerk, then you could reach out to those people whose names were on there, and perhaps they could be appointed. Because there's plenty of positions to go around. As we know. So anything else that you wanted to say about the elections?
The,
Over.
go-
I,
I do have something to go ahead.
I certainly was hoping for the override to pass, so that we can sort of, go in with a balanced budget with the override. At least one step of the two-step process completed. Since that didn't happen, now, the select board now need to come up with a balanced budget, to present at town meeting. I think tonight at the executive session, we're gonna go over some more details of what that's gonna look like, but yeah, I think we have to be prepared to, present a balanced budget at a town meeting.
So I think what I'd like to do at the executive session when we come out, if I'm assuming we will have a balanced budget at some point, is to come back to open session to discuss. Can we do that? Something to think about. We could talk about it before we get to the executive session.
Okay.
I think whatever, if you do end up going back to open session, you can only talk about the items that are not collective bargaining related.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, but
'Cause,
as far as the budget goes.
Yeah, because the cuts that we need to make, not all of it is coming from personnel. I think we've all stated that we wanted to avoid those as much as possible. So there are some cuts that we can probably talk about.
And what we need to have is a budget that it gets presented at town meeting, which is next week,
Mhm.
a week from today, and we don't have another meeting after today.
Is finance meeting tonight? Is that why Sam
They're
was here thinking?
tomorrow. I think they're meeting tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
Have the discussions of collective bargaining happened, or?
Not yet.
No, you can't.
It's
Until
too soon.
after.
Yeah, we would have to do it after town meeting. So we need to come up with what the proposal would be, and then, depending on what happens at town meeting, then engage with the various unions to come to the bargaining table.
So if we don't meet with collective bargaining before, and we have a balanced budget next week.
We would know where we need to reduce.
Yeah, that's like.
And
So it would be
boards.
in the, okay, so it wouldn't be line by items, it would be,
Right, it would be a broad.
Because we're not legally
You
allowed
still
to.
can't talk about positions or people.
But the way the budget is voted on at town meeting is by functional segments.
Yep.
So, we would make the changes, and then that's what we're able to present. I know the omnibus has all the line items,
so
but
will the omnibus be available? at
The
town
one
meeting?
that is in the book will be available.
Okay, but it wouldn't be the one that people would.
No,
because then we would be revealing, proposed cuts that we haven't even spoken to the union about. But again, the cuts that are not personnel related, I think those are perfectly, we should be sharing that with the public, what cuts we're making that we can disclose. At least, because that way we're as transparent as we can be. Because there are some aspects of the budget that is going to have to be cut that's not personnel related.
I mean,
so I think
for the library too, like what is going to happen?
I know what the trustees voted on for that one, but
I think that tonight, during
yeah,
our
maybe we-
executive session, we'll discuss, but we need to come out of that executive session with a budget to present. That is the budget that is presented at town meeting. We can't discuss the specifics when it's personnel related, but we should have a budget. Otherwise, what is planned for the budget for town meeting?
Right.
And when does the select board vote on it? I
And
think
can the
it's
finance
today.
committee vote on it with
Tomorrow.
broad sections? Are they gonna vote on that, or will they want the details?
They can't have the details yet. They just can't. They're gonna have what we present. They can't have the details.
They can make recommendations.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'm
And
just
they'll know-
asking questions. I'm gonna ask a zillion questions. so.
They'll know the same broad strokes that we know,
Mhm.
so.
I mean, we didn't want to have.
Oh, no,
video.
I'm just
But
asking questions
since
to
we
try and
are-
figure out like how.
I have another question. This has to do with the schools. So has the town, I know that as a board, we have rolled the schools in and we don't plan to we can't make any changes there but the override didn't pass. Do we or do we not? So for the town, we know that the decision is to be not level funded, to be no more than 2.5% increase, no override. So we have a school budget in there, but we have not yet voted on the school budget. The town hasn't, because March was not a vote on the school budget. March was a roll it in, and if you're going to do an override, do it for town services, which is what we did. Pepperell's override failed. The override is the vote. That is the definitive vote. So Pepperell's override failed. They have not approved the school budget. Our override failed. Have we or have we not approved the town budget, the school budget?
No, it's at town meeting that everything happened.
Town meeting.
Yeah, because after everything happened last night, I started talking to my counterparts in Pepperell and Ashby, and
So as of today, we do not have a school budget, an approved school
No, we
budget.
don't.
no. So at town meeting
That's what I thought.
for all three towns, Pepperell has theirs the same night as us on the 6th. Ashby actually has it the Saturday before.
Okay.
So yeah,
So we'll, okay.
we'll know Ashby's what they've voted on, by the end of Saturday. But Pepperell is literally the same evening with us.
No, Pepperell wasn't doing the full amount asked for the school though, correct? They had a smaller override, I thought, like 300.
Yeah, 300.
Because
But it was
last year
for
they,
the school,
yeah, because last year they
Only
passed
for
the
the
larger
school.
override, so they had that to take in.
extra money, yeah.
So it's at town meeting that really determines whether school assessment is accepted or been rejected, and it
Okay.
gets punted back to the school district to come up with a different number.
And I don't know how you feel about it. I mean, I'm okay with coming out of executive with an explanation.
I think we have to, because we have to give,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if I don't feel comfortable, I'll just abstain from voting specifically, but I'm comfortable with whatever you guys decide to do
I think
in
we
terms
need
of
to have
talking.
our discussion about
Yeah.
what we're going to do and what the budget looks like. But when we come out of executive session, we should have the budget that we're going to go forward with.
I agree. Yes.
Okay.
And so we would come back to open session.
This might be a question you can't answer, and that's fine. When a town goes forward with cuts coming into a year, is it always the sort of collective bargaining? Is there, like, if you looked at a different town that had cuts coming, do they present the full budget or just category with, general removals?
I think it has to be pretty broad strokes,
Okay.
just like the way that the school district, when they say there's layoffs, they just say there's 20
Give you
layoffs.
numbers. They don't
Um,
tell
Yeah, no, well, so
Or
will
what
we have that
department?
information? Like a number of layoffs, or just,
It's going to be more dollars. than numbers of positions or anything like that. I think. I mean, we'll talk about it.
Because we don't know, is it just gonna be closing the whole day? Is it gonna be just cutting some hours? We only know the dollars that we have to come up with. Okay, we have some business to still do.
Sorry.
before we go to executive. If,
Get
if we're
sidetracked
good
there.
with that. So,
Oh, can I say one other thing?
Yeah.
Back to the, because our town clerk is the chief executive officer of the MetroGov Solutions, who does our website.
Yeah.
We need to discuss that, because I think we,
Upcoming meeting,
for me,
probably at an upcoming meeting, I think there was discussion of bringing that back in-house, because
Mhm.
that was what it was done before MetroGov took over. So, you know, we can,
put that on the agenda for the 13th.
yeah, I thought that just,
Yeah.
it was, the attorney said we couldn't use them. We wouldn't be able to use them. It was not a point of disclosure.
yeah, the state had made a determination. I
Yeah,
believe,
right.
Yeah. I'll double check with MetroGov on that, but yeah, all signs point to that.
I think the person to check with is ethics.
At the state, but.
Yes.
Okay, so 4.4, town policy discussion. I had
Sorry.
lots of discussion under town policy, but what was there a specific motion that you had?
No, that what I want to do is go through each of the selectmen's policies. And this could take us a long period of time. And go through each of them, get them updated to incorporate references to the new charter, to select board as opposed to board of selectmen. And also to make sure that the policy that is available on the website is the current policy, because there are several that are not.
Right.
There are also additional policies that have been approved that have not been placed on the website. So,
So I gave you each this list, because I did this today.
where
I
is,
didn't get as far as I wanted to do,
oh, it's this, okay.
because what I did was I printed off, and then I actually, and you're gonna see a couple of dates at the top,
Yeah,
because that was, mine ended up being pink and hard to read, but I did all the dates of all of them. I didn't get to write it on yours, so if you just wanna follow me.
okay.
The ADA grievance policy was done July 30th, 2013.
2013.
2013.
Okay. So
Some of these dates
2023,
really are
that's
just so old. ARPA funds allocation reallocation policy was March 2023. ARPA funds expenditure policy was February 23. ARPA sub-recipient funding policy, April 23.
And those can actually be removed because they're no
There are
longer
no, right.
relevant.
And will we make a motion to do that?
When we, not right now, but.
Okay, but I mean, that's how we would do that. It wouldn't be a needed policy any longer. We would delete the policy.
Mhm.
Is there an archive or anything like that of older policies, or do they just?
There should be. There used to be. I don't know if there is
They may be
anymore.
in the files, but I don't know if they are online.
Yeah, so we would want to archive. That's a good word for
Okay.
this.
Alcoholic beverage policy was August 2014. I think 10 years is too long, I really do. Ambulance hardship policy was 2015. Animals in municipal buildings was July 2019, and that's, audit committee, April 2019. Board of Selectmen operating policies, August 2021. Budget policy, February 2017. Now, what I didn't catch on all of them, which I started to catch afterwards, you'll see, Capital Asset Inventory Control Policy, February 2004. There's no way that has to be looked at. Capital Asset Reporting Policy, February 2004. Code of Conduct Policy, July 2019. And I'll talk about that later. Constable Policy, 2023, adopted September 2022, but there's a current one that's not uploaded yet. I'm just doing what was on the website. Quarry Policy, number 5, and okay, that's the other thing. Every single one of these policies are not consistent. They're not consistent with how they're named or numbered or dated. Or in some cases, some aren't even signed. There were no first readings and there were no second readings.
If you were looking on the website, they're
Looking at the actual policy on the website.
on the website. A lot of these are not necessarily the latest, and they are not necessarily we got from Civic Plus, the archive, prior to, just in January, February timeframe. And I haven't had time to go through it.
Okay.
Because we rolled into budget and that was that.
Right.
But we requested the archive, Nelson did, and we did receive it from Civic Plus.
Okay.
So we can look at the policies that were actually the most recent. So that could be an error,
All right.
and which is why we need to do this.
So when I did this from home, and my Wi-Fi there was really good. When I tried to work on this back at the office, I couldn't open up any of the links to the policies. When I was at home, dangerous weapons in municipal buildings, the policy did not open, so I couldn't tell you what date it was.
What was the date on the quarry policy? The one right above that.
218. Number 5, it was, I have it down as number 5, 218. And then again, the weapons in municipal buildings did not open, so I don't have info on that. The disposition of surplus property was number 2015-1. So I mean, it's not done consistently.
Sometimes it's 1-2015.
Right.
And sometimes it's the fiscal year, and sometimes it's the physical year.
Yes, so I don't know why it's not, I know that the people aren't consistent, so I'm not sure. Email communications policy was 2012-02. Fuel efficient vehicle policy. This must have to change. November 8th, 2011.
That was when we did green communities, and this was one of the requirements of green communities.
Okay. Goods and so that's probably not our policy at all. It's
Oh,
just
no,
an
it's
adopted
still,
policy.
we are still doing green communities. So, and you have to have a policy in place for
It doesn't matter
this,
when it's dated? Or if it's,
as long as it's still current.
okay. So these are all that we will eventually discuss, but certain ones, I think the ones that are older maybe should be caught up first. Goods and services contracts, the policy was 08-2019. The HIPAA security policy was number 2-2017. HIPAA privacy policy, number 1-2017. I read that policy, and the contact person needs to be updated. So there's a lot of these policies, if there's a person's name in it that has a position, that's got to be eliminated and possibly just do the position,
Right.
versus the name. Liaison policy, number 3-2018. Media relations policy, number 2-2015. Meeting, decorum and order for all boards, commissions, authorities, and committees. Was amended to 2024, policy number 01-21. Order sales policy number is 02-2007, so that's pretty old. Personnel policies revised 2020 ADA coordinator. Now that, I also looked at that one, and it's supposed to be signed by all employees, department heads, and it's a very large document. There, to this policy, there was, nobody from select board signed it, and there were no readings. Petty cash policy number 2015-02 was March 31st. I think that was of 15. There were no readings and no one signed it. Public comment policy was 2/2018. There were no readings, and it was signed by 2 select people on July 10th, 2018. Public records policy and guidelines for making requests, August 14th, 2006. There were no public readings.
We're working on that.
Yeah, and nobody signed it by the select board. Policy for Memorial Hall Auditorium was 02-24, replaced number 99-2.
What was the date on the Memorial Hall auditorium?
24.
The latest is,
And we're amending that now anyway, so.
okay, but that was amended on March 2024. There was a first and second reading, and it was adopted on February 20th, 24.
Okay.
Reclassification and positions. Number 2013-01, adopted June 4th, 2013. There were no readings and no signatures. That one is strange, but there were no readings and no signatures on that one. Buy recycled policy, number 1-2018, replaced 09-05-2000. No readings, signed by 3 selectmen. Number 1-218, replace policy 95-2000. No readings, signed by 3 selectmen. Remote participation policy 01-2024, replace number 2012-01. There was a first and second reading, and it was approved on February 6, 2024. Requirements for counter signature policy. Number 5-01, no readings, signed by selectmen. I didn't get the numbering, but it was September 27th, 2005. So it would indicate it was 2001, I think. But then it wasn't signed until September 27, 2005. However, I did read that as well. And the countersign is for over $100,000. In 2021, we're 24 years later. So that probably has to be looked at. Safety belt policy. Number 1-01, there were no readings. February 6, 2001, and signed by 3 selectmen. Safety policy, there were no dates. Safety policy, no readings. 3 selectmen signed. April 18th, 2000. Having another policy needs to be looked at. sick leave donation policy. There were no readings and no one signed it. Like one of these was, one of them was signed by, oh, way back by a town administrator. But this one had no signature on the sick leave donation policy. That was December, I did get a date on it, December 2nd, 2014. Signboard usage policy, number 2-2021. There was a first reading, a second reading, and adopted August 31st, 2021. No signatures on that policy.
Oh, there should be.
Social media policy, number 02-2019. It was the first reading, second reading, adopted July 2nd, 2019, signed by 3 select board members. I'm going to make a comment after I read this one and the other one. The technology use policy, 04-2019, there was a first reading and final approval adoption, I guess, was in the second reading. It was July 11th, 2019. That was signed. That replaced 2012-02. Both of those policies, the social media policy and the technology use policy, according to the policy, has to be signed by all employees, all elected officials, and all appointed officials. I have never done that. Nobody's ever asked me to do that.
9 years, never done any of those.
But that's what the policy says.
I think
So is
that,
there's a harassment policy somewhere that gets sent around as well. I don't see it in this list.
It's not on this. I only did the ones that were on the website, so I'm sure there's other policies.
Mhm.
There's also a meeting hall policy that's not there.
Yeah.
But the trustees and,
Well, we just did West meeting.
no, I'm
No,
sorry,
it wasn't a meeting
the,
room.
between the senior center and the library. There was a meeting hall policy, it was 2023.
It
I think-
was around the time, I was still on the
So
board
why aren't these
when it
things on the
started. I
website?
don't know if it was finished. Well, they used to be.
But, okay, so
were.
there's a new website. Why wasn't everything transferred to the new
Well, one
website?
can only wonder.
Oh.
So this is
Okay.
why we're looking at these policies,
Yeah, okay.
because it was pretty obvious to me when I first perused them. Anyway.
Temporary signs and sandwich board policy. 01-10, adopted December 7th, 2010. No readings. There were no readings, but there were 2 signatures on that one. Townsend Emergency Assistant Funds Policy, number 05-2023, replaced number 2014-01. There was a first reading, a second reading, and signed July 5th, 2022.
And that has been amended. We did it
And
recently.
I'm just doing the ones that were on the website, right? So that's what's there, and that's what we know has to change. Townsend First Policy. I thought this was kind of nice, but there was no readings.
I know there were.
It wasn't on the policy.
Okay.
I'm just
Okay,
taking
yeah,
the notes
yeah,
from what's
we
on the
need to,
policy.
we need to get these back to where they should be.
Use of credit card policy.
Give us a date for the Townsend First, please.
01-2020. Signed, but I have no reading notes. Signed March 1st, 2022.
I think, well, anyway, we'll talk later.
Okay.
Let's just finish this.
Use of credit card policy, 05-2015. No readings, signed by 2 selectmen, October 27th, 2015. And you may be right that maybe there was readings, but it wasn't
They
recorded.
just weren't recorded in the policy.
Laura, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I believe, having been in the seat and
Yes,
what
you
was
were.
going on with policies, I don't believe, and listening to all your dates, I don't think the readings became policy
Oh, until after?
until like 2019, late 2019.
Okay.
I don't think there was ever, none of those years ever had readings, as far as
Okay.
just listening to you and
Do you know
my
where that
memory.
came, do you know where that came from? I saw your signature on the.
Yeah, some of the older ones, yeah.
Yeah. Do you know when, or where they came from? Was that a state mandate?
No, I think that might have been, because that was right after I left. I think, no readings prior to when I left.
The place that you will find this is in the Selectmen's Policies and Procedures.
Yeah, I believe it started with Sue and Wayne and whoever joined, I think it was Dawn. I think if that sounds like something Sue would have started.
Okay.
So I think that was something to make it more formal. I
Yeah,
think when there was
I
a
think it's good.
policy, we just kind of threw it around and it would just go like minutes.
Yeah.
You check, what do you think of this? And then we'd go to the next meeting till we had and I think that went on for years. It wasn't just me.
Okay.
It would be on, years, that's how policies were enacted.
Okay.
Where boards would just work on them and then they would become, but that's more organized and it makes sense to do the readings the way that's been done. I think that's why you don't have them.
All right. Thank you for your
And there
comment.
weren't that many, the number of policies you're reading, I think many of those, it would be a nightmare to go through minutes for 10 years. But I think a lot of those policies were removed years ago. I don't remember, there were never this many policies.
No,
There's actually
there
more
were when I became a
policies.
selectman.
Uh-uh.
And there were this many?
There are more,
There's
yes.
actually more
yes.
policies, because I saw that after, when I looked, it was like 120 something
No.
policies. But the only ones that, I could only do the ones that had the links. I
They
only
aren't-
did the ones that did the links, that I could read.
Wow.
There are more.
120
The
something
website
policies.
didn't have this many.
Yes, it did.
Not when I was, it came after.
Well,
weren't
it
that
was in the Civic Plus. It was in the Civic Plus website that
Okay, that
was
Well, hopefully
that came
we'll
after
find-
me.
before.
Civic
Yeah,
Plus was
they
after
were all
me.
there.
So they
Okay.
dredged up I think a lot of the policies may have been dredged up from somewhere.
Okay. Well, hopefully we're gonna clean it all up
Some of those are outdated and probably not
and
even
bring it up to
allowed
speed.
by state law.
Excuse me, you've lost your video. The select board has lost its video. I don't know, did you deliberately want to take your video off or?
I didn't do
Do
anything.
we click it by accident? All right, I don't know what happened, but, give it a second.
Okay, you're back now on video. Thank you.
Okay, but you heard us, right?
So there was no problem with the audio.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hartley.
Okay. All right, so let me get back to this. Use of, okay, the next one is use of legal counsel policy, number 04-218, replaced number 17-05. No readings.
There's a more recent policy than this.
Yeah, I'm sure. All I can do is go through what I'm
It's,
handing you today.
yeah.
2 selectmen did sign. It was July 31st of 18. Vehicle use policy, number 01-2023, replaced policy number 4-05. There was the first, second, and adopted reading, and it was signed.
And this one we have to review because we don't have a town vehicle anymore.
Yep.
So,
anyway, it's a start.
Yep.
Gives us an
so
idea.
this would be a working meeting, several working meetings, I'm
Right.
afraid. So, do we want to set a time to start working on this? Just a relative time, like June? June is appointments. But other than that, might be a good time.
Yeah, why don't we do that? So, but then, we need to get all the copies and get the uploads of the new ones and that kind of thing. We'll just do a few at each meeting starting in June, the first meeting in June. It'll be
I
part of
think
the work
that's good.
session.
Yep.
Okay? All right. So that's 4.4. 4.5, second reading, West Townsend reading room policy. Is there a motion? I made myself notes too about that. So, is there a motion?
It just says I moved to. I think we should do the second reading and then make a motion to adopt. That's what I think we should do. And do we have it in here? I see Memorial
Well, it
Hall.
says 4.5 and
Oh, here it
yours
is.
is 4.5, okay?
So we went
Which one is
through
this?
and we
Missing.
updated. The last time we did this, it's behind.
Yeah, 4.5.
That's it.
It's on there. So we had gone through, the last time we addressed this in a meeting, and we had made updates to it. So I think there are a couple of questions that I have, procedural when we
Okay.
go through this, so,
Do you want to do the
Look at
second
this.
reading and then we discuss it? Because I have a couple comments to make too. And even I have, there may be a third reading, so.
okay, so do you want me to read
Yeah.
the?
Or do you want Valerie to?
I'm happy to if you want me to. It's this, correct?
It is.
Select board, we lost both your audio and video. Can you hear me, select board? We've lost both your audio and video.
Hartley, Don Hayes, I'm gonna text Nelson and see if I can get him that way.
Okay, thank you, Don.
Yeah.
What about it?
Everybody on Zoom, they're working on it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Signal goes. Okay, hello everyone, we're back,
Sorry about that.
charged up.
Technical difficulties.
Okay,
We were gonna read the second reading of the West Townsend Reading Room Use Policy.
correct.
Yep.
Thank you.
Start policy 03/2025. Replace policy West Townsend Reading Room Rules and Regulations. West Townsend Reading Room Use Policy. The West Townsend Reading Room is available to any Townsend resident or group. Users must abide by all town policies, rules, and regulations and execute a rental application. The reading room is located at 264 Dudley Road, West Townsend, and can accommodate up to 37 people. It contains 6 long tables, 10 small square tables, folding chairs, kitchen with refrigerator, stove, microwave, and dishwasher, and restroom facilities. Rental fees are $35 rental fee per usage for nonprofit groups renting more than twice a month, $75 rental fee for one-time monthly nonprofit groups, $125 rental fee for private party. Rental time is 5 hours. Each additional hour will be $15. Smoking and animals, with the exception of service animals, are prohibited on the premises. A refundable cleaning deposit of $125 is required at the time of rental. All trash and belongings must be removed prior to vacating the premises. Failure to abide by the town's rules and regulations or failure to return the room to the condition in which it was received will result in a forfeiture of the deposit. Insurance. All individuals, groups renting the space shall procure and maintain for the duration of the rental period insurance against claims for injuries to persons or damages to property which may arise from or in connection with the rental of the facilities and activities of the renter licensee, their guests, agents, representative, employees, or subcontractors. Licensee agrees to maintain all necessary insurance to protect itself against claims relating to the use of the facilities. Licensee agrees to provide a certificate of insurance with coverage acceptable to the town prior to the use of the facility. User shall maintain general liability with $1 million minimum limit and $2 million aggregate. The town shall be named as an additional insured on such insurance policy. No changes to this insurance may occur without 10 days notice to the town. Anyone wishing to rent the reading room should call or email the select board's office at 978-597-1700 extension 1703 or selectboard@townsendmass.gov. Print, fill out, and return a signed form with a check for the rental fee and the cleaning deposit made out to Town of Townsend.
Okay, I have a couple of things.
Okay.
All right, the first one is the $35 rental fee. Should that, I know there are groups that rent it frequently. Should this be renting twice a month or more? Or is it more than twice a month? So in other words, do they rent twice a month or do they rent 3 times a month? I think it should be twice a month or more. But what do we want it to be? Are we saying at least 3 times a month gives you the repeat? Or is it twice a month gives you the repeat?
I thought it was twice a month.
Okay, then this should read twice a month or more. Okay, next thing is the refundable cleaning deposit of $125 is required at the time of rental. Looking again at the repeat rentals. What happens on repeat rentals if in fact it needs to be cleaned in between? Are we requiring another cleaning deposit once the cleaning deposit is expended? So should we say something like?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't say that here. Because at the time of rental, they might pay for, 6 months at a time, or who knows?
No,
How does it
that
work?
should be for each rental. Because like if they're doing twice a month, so there was an incident that happened recently and it wasn't checked for 2 or 3 or 4. How long wasn't it checked?
About a week.
So in the policy, there has to be, that's the thing I wanted to add, that there has to be that facilities or someone, I don't care who you want to delegate to do it, but it makes sense to be facilities, needs to check it immediately after use.
Then we need to say a refundable cleaning deposit of $125 is required at the time of each rental.
Each rental.
Or is required at the time of rental for each rental, or something like that.
Well, I think each rental
For
keeps it
each,
clean of
okay.
each rental.
A refundable is required at the time of each rental. So that we have that on hand.
But
okay, and then the one that you're talking about, who checks if the room is in order? Is that something that we put into the policy? Or is that something that becomes part of a job,
Nelson,
of a job description?
how would you handle that?
I think that should be outside of this policy. It should be something that we work on for whatever job description is most appropriate.
Then can we get that job description updated ASAP, I guess?
That's like, this is facilities, so it should be with that department. However, that gets handled within the department, but the responsibility needs to be there that once a rental is completed and they have left, that the building needs to be inspected.
Right. Yep.
To make sure that, the water's not running, or there's something leaking, or the stove is left on, something.
Yep. I can talk to facilities to, it's good practice anyways. Instead of leaving, the property unattended for, up to a week or longer.
Right.
If the water's running, you don't want that going for a week.
Right.
It should be checked
Just
after
common
each
sense.
rental, not within, but if it's a Saturday or a Sunday rental, it should be checked Monday morning, first thing.
Right. Agreed. Okay. I'll talk to facilities about that.
By then, any water damage could be expensive, but you know.
I mean, we
You
may
have to be
have to write,
reasonable.
do you think we have to instruct people, make sure all the, faucets are turned off, and make sure the toilet's not running, make sure the stove isn't on? Do we have to say that?
Well,
Do we
it
have to
says
give them a
here-
Checklist?
Well, it says here, you need to return the room to the condition in which it was received. when you go in there, the water's not running, so if you leave it running, you've already violated that condition.
That's common sense.
Well, but it's
I
all,
agree.
but it's also in here as well, black and white, so you need to return it to the condition in which it was received.
I do a lot of rentals, so I'm gonna tell you, but that same language is in everything that we do, and it's common sense. Not
Yeah.
everybody looks at it that way. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, do we want to say something about that then? Something additional? In all trash and belongings must be removed prior to vacating the premises. Should we say all trash and belongings must be removed and all appliances and faucets
water,
turned off?
lights, what if they leave the lights on too? I'm not saying that they would, but I'm saying once something happens, you wonder, any one of those things can happen.
I mean, just to
Do a
be,
checklist. I would do a checklist.
You should have a checklist.
I would do a checklist.
That's just at the facility.
I mean, I know that you're dealing with adults, but this happens. And it's not on purpose. I'm not saying that it's on purpose. I'm just saying, if you give them that
Then
little
let's say-
reminder.
all trash and belongings must be removed and the posted checklist completed prior to vacating the premises.
Yes, that's a little list you could just have right there.
Right.
Or attach it to the application that they give to you with the check, and they get the list.
All right, so changes made are on the $35 line, renting twice a month or more. The next one would be the paragraph that begins: a refundable cleaning deposit of $125 is required at the time of each rental.
Right.
All trash and belongings must be removed and the posted checklist completed prior to vacating the premises. Are we good with that?
Did you say, just say checklist?
Yes.
Okay.
Sabrina has a question, Lori.
I just wanted to mention, in the past, there was one mention, that it was noted that, cars may have been parked on the grass instead of the parking space provided.
Do you want to
I
put
don't
that
know
in
if
here?
that's something that you want to put in there. That, the marked parking spaces are.
Well, if we're gonna do that, then, we should put it in the list at the beginning. It contains 6 long tables, and then put a next sentence: parking is in designated areas only.
Yeah, there's a gravel parking spot.
Do you want to also say not on the grass? They make their own parking spaces.
Parking is in designated, or the spots designated, or is it? I want
Designated gravel spaces?
or
It's all gravel.
the parking is
It's asphalt.
on,
Asphalt?
There's no lines though.
right,
Oh,
so we
that's-
can't say designated. Parking is,
On solid surfaces only.
they're gonna say grass is a solid surface. Park in the parking lot, not on the grass.
It's, it is, paved though, right?
That's what I mean. It's the same material. as
Okay,
the
parking
street.
is in paved area.
Paved areas only.
area.
It's in paved area only.
A lot of paved areas don't have lines.
Right, so just parking is in paved area only.
Okay, so you got that?
And
No.
one more, if there's any emergencies during rental time, who they should reach out to that's not supposed to be there.
911, what do you mean by emergencies?
In the past, we had the door lock being a little hard to open.
Facilities.
It's on the weekend, those rental times. So the renters often call the fire department.
Okay. That was my
I
next.
think that's fine. We put it on the checklist. If you have an
Fire
emergency,
department.
call the fire department.
And they'll come,
They're 24/7. So,
and they'll go with blocks.
make that part of the checklist. I don't think it needs to be in the policy. Do you? Are we good with that?
No, but that can be the checklist that they have. You hand them that, and so they have an emergency contact, call the fire department. Okay. I'm good.
All right.
Is there a motion?
I move to, are we accepting?
Yes.
Oh,
We
okay,
just did.
second reading provision, yep. Move to accept the, updated West Town and reading room use policy as read, correct?
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, another policy.
Please get signed at a later time or?
Yes.
Yeah.
After Sabrina
After
gets
it
them
gets
typed
redone.
in.
That's
and-
fine, just double checking,
Hmm.
but today's date will be on. Or when we sign them.
It's usually the date that we sign,
Okay.
right?
Just
Yeah.
curious.
With the second reading, today's date.
The adoption and, adopted today.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, so that now we're on a second reading for 4.6, the use of Memorial Hall auditorium. 4.6.
It's like
Yeah,
It's
the
up
one,
on-
this town council
Right.
provision or
Yeah.
this one.
4.6.
No, I just meant which one is it that we're looking at?
probably the cleaner version, maybe, or,
The other one's not marked. It's the same thing, but it's probably the old policy.
Okay, this one's the old, this one says old. That's 3. Old town council revision and then 4/15/25.
4:15 is the-
So 4:15.
This is the one,
Okay,
the first one.
okay, thank you.
The one with all the insurance stuff.
Yep.
in it.
Yeah, because that's what, okay. So
Yeah,
this
that's
is
the
town
revisions. I
council
saw that
order.
after the fact. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Just making sure I was reading through that. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I need to drink water. Policy number 04/2025, revision to policy 2/2024. Policy for use of Memorial Hall auditorium. All inquiries or requests for scheduling the use of Memorial Hall auditorium will be handled by the select board. To inquire about scheduling event, call 9785-97-1700, extension 1703, or submit a written request to the office the select board, 272 Main Street, Townsend, Mass. 01469. Email selectboard@townsendma.gov. No more than 2 events shall be scheduled in any one day. The auditorium is available Friday, Saturday, and Sunday only, unless special arrangements are made. Town entities may use the auditorium 7 days a week if available. A calendar will maintain for scheduling events. Events must conclude before midnight with cleanup completed no later than 1 a.m. Rental use includes usage of 228 chairs available and 6 large white folding tables, as well as 6 short white folding tables. Memorial Hall capacity of number of persons per certificate of inspection by story and by place of assembly / location. Capacity chairs only 178. Capacity tables and chairs 83. Capacity standing only 250. Stage 30. Insurance. All individuals / groups renting the space shall procure and maintain for the duration of the rental period insurance against claims for injuries or to persons or damages to property, which may arise from or in connection with the rental of the facilities and the activities of the renter / licensee, their guests, agents, representative, employees, or subcontractors. Licensee agrees to maintain all necessary insurance to protect itself against claims relating to the use of the facilities. Licensee agrees to provide a certificate of insurance with coverage acceptable to the town prior to its use of the facility. Users shall maintain general liability with the $1 million minimum limit and $2 million aggregate. The town should be named as an additional insurer on such insurance policy. No changes to this insurance may occur without 10 days notice to the town. Prior arrangements must be made with the facilities department superintendent for all special services such as any use of decorations, special seating arrangements, special equipment such as projector, microphones, stage lights, etc., delivery and removal of equipment. The organization or individual wishing to rent the hall shall be sponsored by a Townsend resident or entity and complete an application for use of Memorial Hall with necessary waivers if applicable. The applicant is responsible for all fees associated with use of the auditorium, which includes custodial services, are payable 1 week prior to any event and shall be charged as follows. Town boards, committees, departments, governmental use, no charge. Towns and nonprofits, community groups, 100 for the first 3 hours, 25 for any hour over that. Private events, $150 for the first 3 hours and $50 for any hour over that. All non-departmental users are required to submit $150 security deposit. Security deposit shall be destroyed after the event by the select board office, provided there are no damages to town property attributable to the events and the premises were left in good condition as determined by the town. Users shall remain responsible for all damages above and beyond the amount of the security deposit. Reservations shall be made on a first-come basis. No reservation shall be considered until all forms, waivers, and security deposit may have been received. A police detail may be required for events. Final determination based on the event and other factors will be made by the select board in conjunction with the chief of police. A 4-hour minimum detail with a minimum 24-hour notice is required. The organization is required to arrange for the police detail and to pay the costs of the same. If a town property is damaged during an event, the security deposit shall be utilized by the town for the repairs. Any balance of funds remaining in the security deposit after completion of repairs will be returned to the organization or individual. The organization or individual shall remain liable for and shall promptly pay to the town any repair costs in excess of the security deposit. Food and beverages may be served, but no alcoholic beverages or on-site food preparation is allowed. No smoking is allowed on top property or within the building. Additional parking is available at the municipal parking lot located off Riverbank Terrace. The select board reserves the right to reject any and all applications.
All right.
Any other discussion?
No? Did we make a motion to accept?
I'll look for one. We've had the reading. I'll take a motion to approve.
I move to approve the policy for use of Memorial Hall auditorium as read.
And I would second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. 7. Annual meeting setup discussion.
So I think, by the way, in case people didn't realize this, the annual town meeting is at the high school auditorium, for the folks that might not be aware of that. So I think it's tradition to have a select board meeting beforehand, just to go over some final details. Since we are moving over there, I suggest we probably start the meeting at 5 and adjourn probably no later than, say, 6:15, just to give us time.
We'll meet here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So John is, John Barrett's aware of, the location as well. I've been working with Dave at TCAM, for him and his staff to, do on the audio,
Set up the microphones the same way.
Yep. There will be a staff member from the high school, that will be assisting. So, similar to, the budget forum last week. So I think we're in pretty good shape. There'll be 2 microphones on either side of the aisle, and those can be mobile in case someone has mobility issues. We can certainly walk it over to them, but I think folks lining up on either microphone is a pretty good way of making sure everyone gets a chance to speak or ask any questions they might have.
How many people does that hold?
I think it's upwards, probably between 500 and 600 people. Yeah, it's much bigger than the Great Hall here.
Veronica?
I was just going to say, are we going to have Boy Scouts available to do the microphone thing? For people who are immobile. I know we're lining up, but if there's someone who can't get to the microphone, it has to get somebody to do it.
Yeah.
If there isn't a Boy Scout there,
You can also ask for a volunteer if you're immobile to ask someone to stand on your behalf until bring the microphone. Just an idea.
They can ask it with the Boy Scouts. That's been tradition as well.
Yeah.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So do they stay for the whole night?
Not
Not
always, it
always.
depends on how late it gets.
Yeah.
They're usually there till 9 o'clock or so anyway.
Okay.
So,
I can ask Derek, Irene's husband, to see if he can get some troop members to assist.
I'm sure we could get, John usually prepares with counters,
mhm.
so I'm sure they get a counter that,
Yeah, that's true too,
you know,
especially if it's later at night.
I mean, if the Boy Scouts are there, they'd like to do something, so
Right.
that's okay, but if they're gone, I'm sure we can get a counter.
I did find out that Adam is not going to be able to represent us that night. That night, he has, his law firm is representing like 10 other cities and towns. So Jane Friedman, the
Labor?
Okay, our
Labor Council will be
Yeah.
representing us.
Okay,
And she's assisted with town meetings in the past with other municipalities, and she might have mentioned she's done one for Townsend. It might have been like a special town meeting, maybe.
Not during my time, I don't know. I have no idea when I wasn't on the select board.
Okay.
Who was at those.
So, but yeah, Adam, that's a busy night for his firm, so
Mhm.
unfortunately, he's not going to be able to represent us. I was hoping he would be the one because he's obviously the most familiar with our town.
Will she meet with us at 5?
so we can go over the warrant.
She has a copy of the warrants. I actually need to draft the motions for Adam to review.
Okay.
So I'm going to be working on that over the next several days, to have him take a look at it.
I have a couple questions that I would like to run by her then before the meeting.
Okay. Oh, we actually, I'm trying to get together like a meeting before the meeting itself. And I'm not talking like literally right before. It's more like a preparatory meeting to go over some details,
Okay, and who will be at that preparatory meeting?
Adam said he would join because, I think he can, give a lot of advice to Jane, in terms of Townsend and how, what to expect. So Jane, Adam, myself, would 2 or 3 members of the select board be allowed to participate?
Not without posting, but at
Okay.
least one of us should be there.
Okay. Yeah, then I think at least one select board member should be there. And I was also considering inviting John to it as well, since he's
Yeah, he should be
moderating.
there. Yeah.
We don't actually have a lot of time to get it together.
No, so when do you want to do it?
Let me see.
There's only 3 days left this week.
Yeah. Let's see. I think, so we certainly don't need to do it in person. It could just be.
It could be a Zoom, I'm sure.
A Zoom or something like that. Who in the select board would like to be?
I could do it, but do you want to do it?
I have some questions, as long as I can give them to Jane ahead of time or to Adam. I don't have to be on the call. So, but I want to make sure that my questions are addressed.
Okay.
I have time with Adam on Thursday, so I can talk to him about it then.
Let me try to set something up. for
Adam is here on Thursday? What time?
Yes.
His office hours, 4 to 7 p.m.
Okay,
So
so why don't you talk to him then?
I'll talk to him then, yeah.
Okay. But I'll try to get a meeting. Town council, someone from the select board, myself, and John Barrett. Just
What time do you have with Adam?
I'm 5 p.m.
Do you want to, if he isn't totally booked with whatever needs to be done?
Oh, he is.
Serena says he is.
Totally booked.
So we'll have to find another time to do it. I'll coordinate something, with everyone. Can you look at your schedule, maybe, see if, like,
Well, if he's available and wants to come like an hour earlier on Thursday, I could meet then, if you wanted to meet at 3
okay,
with the group meeting. That would work.
okay, I'll talk to him, and I'll ask John as well. Okay,
That means it's before I meet with Adam.
you can give me the question and I can run it by
Yeah.
him.
I want to talk to Adam
Okay.
about it.
Okay.
So can you do it after?
I can. If he will. If he does it until 7, we can meet at 7. I'll come here at 7 after he's done.
Whatever works.
Okay, I'll coordinate behind the scenes and I'll let everyone know. Yeah, so I think those were the big ones, Adam's not gonna be joining us and.
So this is the second town meeting that Adam didn't join us at.
The one in March, he had a prior,
March 10th.
he had a prior, commitment that he couldn't get out of. And this one, like I said, busy night, there's multiple communities that have,
Okay, the
town
question is, what do we have to do to be one of the priority communities? Since he is representing us, that's the question. I find it concerning that this is the second town meeting in a row that he's not at. That's all.
okay, no, I hear your concerns. I really was hoping he would be at this annual town meeting because it's a big meeting.
I would say too, in the interest of continuity, and I talked about this a lot, in longevity and knowledge, they have a new town clerk. I'm brand new up there. So
This
there's
is my first annual town meeting here.
Nelson's first annual town meeting and a different. So there's only, is this your first regular annual town meeting? So.
And our town meeting is set by charter, so it's known always
Ahead of time.
when it is.
So we have one select board member and one moderator who have done it before. And no, it's just thoughts.
Yeah.
Should be fun.
I'll
It's
bring it
nice
up.
to have people who are very quick on their feet because we like to change.
Should be
things.
very interesting.
We like to change things as we go.
I'll mention it to Adam.
That would be good. I'll mention it to him too. Okay.
So that would mean, our next select board meeting, will be at 5 PM next Tuesday.
On the 6th. Yeah.
The 6th. Okay, so that's 4.8. Now we're going into work session. 5.1, town administrator updates. Anything else?
Yep, I have a few updates. The latest version of the annual town reports got delivered today. I think we got about 38 copies, more on its way. The printing company had a snafu and they weren't able to provide all, was it 150 copies,
Yeah.
Sabrina?
Mm-hmm.
The remainder will be delivered in the next week or so, but there's some here, I think there's some downstairs.
Oh, so we won't have them at town meeting then?
We should. I'm hoping we get the rest delivered by then.
Okay.
Will they be available online?
It is available online.
Now.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's good.
But it did come out very well, so.
Yeah. I just
Please.
grabbed one.
Let's see here. I did not meet the person, but Callie did. I guess this person is in pre-production and they're looking to film part of a movie, and they like the facade of the town hall here. So I think it's been a while since.
It's on the cover of our book.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's been a while since anything's ever been filmed in Townsend. I actually looked it up and there might have been
It's just a few years.
A couple years
a couple of years ago.
there was one at the,
Oh, okay,
and there was one at the library that we did maybe 4 or 5 years ago
okay.
that we had to do approval things for.
So if we're interested, I can research it, see if this is legitimate, and see what they're actually looking to film. If it's just outside.
Who was the company? Did you say?
Searchlight Pictures.
Searchlight Pictures.
Yep. They're doing a comedy.
A comedy.
Yeah. Yes.
We need that. Have them come to town.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
You
the
should
same
just
thing.
Watch the whole thing. So much
Have them
content.
come to town meeting.
So it looks like they're looking to film here in September, I think.
Oh, September.
Yeah. So, there's a location scout, so they're, trying to get everything in order. So,
We want to put Townsend on the map. Sure.
so, obviously we will get a fee for our, for use of our property. So,
Were they just using the exterior of the building? Is that? their
I'm
plan?
not 100% sure if they're just doing filming outside. I think if it was inside, that might be too disruptive since, we have a business to run. If it was the weekend, maybe, but certainly not during business hours, Monday through Friday. So, but I can certainly find out more information. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
That came in. Let's see what else I can have. So the MART bus that goes through Townsend, I believe it's currently free at the moment. That service is scheduled to end at the end of June. And I don't have much historical insight into that. I think you might, Veronica.
I do. We had a transportation group that was put together maybe 3 years ago. Was when Emily McCaffrey was here as our community services coordinator, and we had to join MART because we were Lowell Regional Transit. So now we're Montechusett as well, Regional Transit, and that was brought around mainly because of the start of the MBTA communities. We are an MBTA community because of our proximity to Shirley and the line that comes out here. However, our transportation, we were part of the Lowell Regional Transportation, so Lowell would only take us to Lowell places, not to the Fitchburg train station or the other. So we petitioned to join Montechusett Regional Transit, and we did. They accepted us as a community. As part of that, you got $25,000 from the state that they don't give you. They use it to run the service to your town. So that is why it was free for us. But it apparently hasn't been well used. It started after I was no longer a selectman. We worked for about a year to try to get that. It was a process to get transit to the Fitchburg train station. And so it does run, it was running regular service twice a day. Now I think it's like once in the morning and once a day, and it's on demand. It's on demand. And it didn't really take off. So I guess there isn't a need for it in Townsend.
It's been on
point.
demand for almost a year.
A year.
Yeah, it'll be the year, the end of June.
The year before that, it went twice a day.
Right.
They dropped, we had Saturday and Sunday. Sunday we had to pay for, so it was in the budget. I think for FY23 was part of the budget, or FY24. I'd have to look at the dates, but anyway, but we dropped the Sundays pretty quickly, I think. So then it just was totally free. Anyway, so we're losing the service completely at the end of June. So, but I don't, if it's not being
There wasn't a
used,
need, so.
yeah, if it wasn't used, then there isn't any need. So maybe when MBTA Communities is in place, and we can re-examine that.
The last thing I had was the Townsend Affordable Housing Trust. I know you guys didn't have enough folks to have a quorum today, but I think what the main discussion point was, the housing trust was given $100,000 in ARPA money a few years ago, and that was voted on. There was public meetings. Everything was for the public to to see the votes and the discussion. I guess the one thing that was missing was the subrecipient paperwork. For some reason, no one can find it. We have no way of telling if it was executed or not. So the auditors, when they were doing the audit, they came in and they saw that paperwork wasn't there, and in their minds, that money is still with the town and not with the housing trust. So unfortunately, the housing trust is going to lose out on that money, but that does give us an opportunity to use those funds to pay for some wages in the upcoming budget. And I think that's going to help with the budget deficit that we're currently experiencing. So we can talk more how that's going to be funded. In our meeting later this evening. But
That's a real loss to the trust.
absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
that was a couple of years of getting it established, number one, coming out of the housing authority. And then the work that they've done, and it's been yeoman's work to get properties, talk to different entities about distributing properties, selling properties, having those funds were seed money for surveys. Veronica, do you want to talk more to that?
There isn't much to say.
Yeah, it's definitely a big loss.
That is a big loss.
It is, but for the life of us, we couldn't find the paperwork to make it like official.
There's an email stream, but there's not the document itself.
Yeah, and
What year was it, Mike?
It was 2023.
Yeah.
so
when I was no longer.
there were open meetings where it was discussed and voted on by the select board. So
Oh, yeah.
that much was on the up and up.
And the funds were transferred to a separate account
Yeah.
under the
So they are in
control
a
of the
separate
trust.
account right now,
Yes.
But it was all,
but it can't be allocated.
there's no record of a town vote on that?
Oh,
It
there
seems to me it went to
is.
town
It's a
vote.
sub-recipient. According to Roselli, there needs to be a sub-recipient agreement. And I could have sworn we did that, but I don't have that hard copy. I believe I gave it to the former TA. And there's just no record.
Yeah, we can't find it, and and signing something after the fact wouldn't be necessarily right or on the up and up. So it's just better that it just gets returned back to the town.
Was the former TA contacted to see
No, but I
That's
looked
not
through,
possible.
I looked through all the files. There's not that many hard copies of stuff and I can't find anything anywhere. So, so this gives us an opportunity to, use those funds towards, wages, which is an allowable, use, to help with the budget. So
Just for this year.
Just for this
Right.
year.
for,
So
FY
any wages that
26.
it's used against, the money isn't there for FY 27.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And I've been.
it's
It's wages only, and I was thinking it should just go to the highway department. It's just, and also highway snow and ice wages. It can go to any wages, but there's enough flexibility there that, I just say it's for highway operating wages. So, and there's enough people there that I can spread that around, and also snow and ice wages. So that's kind of what I'm targeting, that money is spent towards, just to assist us with the budget override that we have right now. So that was kind of,
a bummer.
yeah, but it's kind of
On one side, not so much on the
Yeah.
other side, but still a bummer, because if you look at FY 27, then it's really a bummer. But
yeah,
anyway,
because you're using one-time funds to balance the budget in FY 26.
yes.
But the
not a good
problem,
plan.
but the expenses will still be there in 27, and you have this gap that you need to fill. So, but we have the FY 26 problem in front of us that we kind of have to deal with head first. So that's kind of where we're at. The ARPA funding reporting is due tomorrow, but Jen Thompson at CSS is working on that. I've been in contact with her over the last few days. I think she's also working with Katie on some reporting as well. So we'll get it in by tomorrow's deadline.
And that's the final report for ARPA, correct?
Correct. Yep. So
ARPA funds have flown the coop. They are all allocated, or there's nothing else as of the end of the day tomorrow.
correct.
Right.
Yeah. Once we submit that report.
So not a topic of discussion at town meeting, correct?
I mean, people can talk about it, but there's
Nothing can be done.
Nothing can be done because we've already submitted our report, and this is, these are the areas that we'll be putting towards the fund will be putting towards, certain salary line items, and yeah, that's what we report, and that's what we need to adhere to.
And the select board is the determiner of how ARPA funds are spent, correct?
Correct. Yep. So that's all I have. Oh, sorry, there was one other thing. Our current military leave policy, there's actually an officer who is part of the National Guard reserves, and our current policy only allows for 17 days of military leave, but apparently there's a Mass General law that has a more robust number of days available to town employees. So he wrote us a nice letter. I put it on SharePoint. You can take a look at it later. He's looking for us to adopt this Mass General law. I think to adopt something like this, I need to talk to Adam, but it probably requires something at town meeting. And he literally just gave this to me like yesterday, I think. So, but we can certainly work on it, maybe get it on the next special town meeting, unless it requires annual town meeting adoption. But I'll talk to Adam about it. But I think it's a worthy thing to consider, because 17 days per year certainly is not enough if you're in the.
What is the amount
Does that
the
mean
state
that-
allows?
I think it's over. I think it's over 40 days. Yeah, they give you like 40 days.
So,
Much more robust than the 17 currently in our policy.
so we have to then look at how we're funding a policy like that. I'm not opposed to the policies, but I do think in the climate that we're in now, if we're doing things like this, we have to know how we're funding them.
Is that paid leave? Paid by the town for him to be
So,
serving in the guard?
yeah, we would pay so he does get,
He'll get something.
something from the, you know, the military. We would pay the difference.
So, and is there the job that this person is leaving? I haven't even seen this letter. The job that this person is leaving, is it one that will incur overtime?
It may
To
very
be
well.
paid?
It may very well.
I think that before we adopt a policy, we have to know how we're paying for it, especially if it incurs overtime in a public safety sense, because overtime there is way more expensive than any other department in town. And we just need to know that we have it budgeted.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to it
Mhm.
if it's budgeted. If it's not budgeted, then whole different story.
The same goes for like the Heroes Act. I mean, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
And yes, you want to do it and you appreciate your veterans, but that would be 100% funded by the town. And so you have to be able to put it in your budget. You have to make the money to spend the money.
As far as leave policy in military reserve, they can get leave for up to 5 years, or they can't lose their job is held open for them. So if it was
National Guard.
National Guard Reserve, anybody.
That's not paid, correct? It's just,
This is
yeah.
just the law
Right.
on leave of
Yeah.
absence.
Right.
It's a
That's a
local
leave of
policy
absence.
in order to give, like people, some communities or civilian jobs will sometimes pay you, up to, like if you're a federal employee, you get like 2 weeks of military leave. It ends up being like 3 weeks because it's only work days. You get that pay as part of your federal employment. Apparently there's a state law for state employees. I don't know if this is municipalities' new thing. I didn't know about that before, but they keep adding benefits anyway. But a member of the reserve component, whether it's Guard or Reserve, it doesn't matter, who will deploy. You could go to Afghanistan or someplace for a couple of years. Your job is still held. You're not paid for that. That's just you're absent from your job and your job is held. You can't be terminated for that.
That's different.
But that would still incur overtime if that position's going to be held.
We have to be budgeted for
Right,
that, and we don't
for
have a
leave,
town that's
The match, like
willing to.
some employees will have, will pay a difference in pay. Some people, depending on their job, I mean, if it's a police officer, they're making more money probably than what they would make in the military. But the military, a lot of time nowadays, some of the military jobs get paid more than some of the civilian jobs, so it's not that much for business.
All right.
Thank you.
And those were all the updates I had.
Okay. General government, I guess. So I'm just gonna mention that we still have positions available in the town. And if there are open positions on boards that can be appointed, if you're interested, please let us know. I don't have any other reports. Oh,
I can say for
I just did the
housing.
wrong thing.
No, it's okay.
I said general government, but that's you.
Well, but I don't
I
have any
already did
reports
mine.
'cause I haven't, unless someone emailed me in like the past hour and a half. I
Okay.
probably don't have any.
I did elected boards, but that is my report.
For housing, there is one of the affordable homes on Coppersmith Way, 1 Lois Lane, gets advertised starting today, I guess it is. Thank you, Jody, for sending that to Kieran. He's going to check and make sure that Chapa gets him. And yeah, so thank you for forwarding that on. But anyway, it's 90 days. For if there's anybody that's looking for a home and fits the salary range, which I off the top of my head can't give you. I believe it's being listed at 338,000 roughly. If we had If in fact there are no buyers found, it reverts market rate. We, the town, can request that it be extended for 60 more days to be listed at the affordable rate and to give us time to purchase it. We don't have the money to purchase it. So anyway, we're going to look at that and see what we can do. But so just know that there's an affordable home. We should figure out how we're going to get that advertised. It should be noted on the web somehow so that people, there may be people that are interested. So
I can get the listing fed to Sabrina and whoever posts on the website.
With
I can get whatever
all that
information. Yeah.
I think it would be good.
Because other than that, I would not recommend us requesting 60-day extension for something that we can't buy.
I would if it allows someone in town to come forward
But they're going to
or
give
out of
you
town
90 days
to
first.
purchase it. They have
Right?
90 days
Okay.
first.
Well, this will be the best 90 days they'll get.
So
Right now.
Well, anyway,
No,
it
I'm
needs to be
serious. For
advertised.
the market, this is their best 90 days. So I'll get you that information and it can be posted on the website.
That would be good. So, so there's that. I'm going to the MMA Small and Rural Towns Conference on Saturday. I don't know if anybody else signed up for it, but I did. So, and I did get a thing for, there's a panel for EMS for small towns and rural towns. And I sent that on to Nelson and the fire chief, I believe, a place where they could submit questions if they wanted them answered. So there's that. I think that's all I have.
Already did the voluntary response forms. You didn't get any in, right, from yesterday? Did have them all over town hall. The next meeting is the 6th. What is,
Sabrina.
oh, wait a minute. What?
Yeah, there are 2 resignations in the packet.
Oh, yes, 5-3 and 5-4. 5-3. Okay, there is to the Board of Selectmen from Catherine Spoker, Town Clerk. William J. Cadigan has submitted his resignation from the Townsend Zoning Board of Appeals and the Bylaw Review Committee, effective immediately. This is resignation, and we thank Bill for all of his service. He's more than 30 years for sure.
Oh, 40.
Zoning.
I think it's 40.
Okay, and then Board of Selectmen to the Board of Selectmen Fire Chief from Catherine Stolford. Colton Palladier has submitted his resignation from the Townsend Fire Department effective April 10th, 2025. Attached is a copy of his retirement notice. Yeah, I will read it. To whom it may concern, I, firefighter Colton Palladier, resigned from Townsend Fire EMS effective April 10th of 2025. I started my career with the Townsend Fire Department in 2015 and learned a lot about the fire service and the EMS from those whom I was working with. It was shortly after that I realized this was something I wanted to do as a career. And in 2016, I started my full-time career with Massport Fire. I want to thank the Townsend Fire Department for giving me the opportunity to serve the community for 10 years and giving me a kickstart into my career. Unfortunately, much has changed in my life and with the department since the beginning of 2015, which has led me to make a difficult choice to leave the department. I would like to say thank you, especially to those individuals who have played a large role in guiding me toward my full-time career. I wish the department best of luck in their future as an organization. Sincerely, firefighter Colton Palladier. We thank him very much for his service to our town.
Just wanted to note that I had confirmation from the committee members for the Westtown reading room that they are not doing the term. It comes out tomorrow. If the select board is okay with it, to go for 3 new positions for the Westtown reading room committee.
How many positions is it?
3.
3. Are we good?
Yeah.
Is the board good to post for 3 positions for the West Townsend Reading Room Committee?
Yeah, we're waiting till tomorrow's over and then.
Okay. So you'll post after tomorrow? Okay. And
While we're
anything else?
talking about posting, has the posting been made for the state rep for
Not yet.
Housing
Thank
Authority,
you.
right?
Housing Authority.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Just checking. 6, executive session.
Wait, we need to do 5.4.
Well, I started to do that, right. Next meeting is, May 6th at 5 p.m. here in the chambers, and then at 6 p.m. at the high school for the annual meeting.
7 for the meeting at the high school.
7.
Yeah.
7. Okay, thank you for the
No
correction.
problem.
So it's 5 o'clock here and 7 o'clock at the high school.
Yep.
Okay. Is there a motion 5.5? Review and sign payroll
I move
bills.
to review and sign payrolls and bills payable warrants out of session.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So, the next motion, can be made for us to go into executive session, and we will be coming back into public session when we're done. And that's what you'll read. There won't be a time that we're coming back until we know we're coming back.
I move to enter into, sorry, into time now, but not the,
We're entering into executive session at, yes, 8:26 p.m.
I move to enter into, this is weird wording.
Yeah.
8:26
p.m.
p.m. executive session pursuant to open meeting law, chapter 30A, section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining in an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Clerical union, supervisors union, highway water union, police union, fire union.
Is there a second?
Second.
And now, do we add that we're coming back to regular session at this point or no? On this motion?
We didn't say we were adjourning from executive session,
Right,
so we
okay,
will
that wasn't in it.
automatically
We
come
don't have
back.
to. Okay,
So
So-
we need to tell Hartley to,
Yes, I'm going to pause the recording. And if you guys would kindly mute your video and audio, so I won't hear or see anything during the executive session. And when you come back, just come back on audio and video, and I'll then as soon as you reconvene, I'll start the recording again. Now, do you guys have the capability of taking out the people who are joining us, or will some of them be joining you in the executive session?
no one is joining us in executive session. They will have to leave the Zoom.
Hartley, I think we can leave the Zoom too and just come back in, can't we?
Well, I guess so. I can let you back in. I'll just pause the recording, and then when you come back in, I'll let you back in, and we can start recording again.
Yeah, and then you can have everybody still on if they want to stay until we get back.
Okay, great. So that's what I'll do. And so I guess now would be the time for everyone who's not going to be in executive session to bid good night. So.
Okay, thank you.
sure. Join.
Hi, everyone. We just adjourned our executive session. And now I'll call back to order our meeting at 10:08 PM. And so we had a work session on the budget that we are going to now vote on, that will be presented on the 6th. And this has to do with the fact that we didn't get the override. So, Veronica, do you want to make motions?
I will as soon as Nelson screen shares the
Okay.
functional segments. And do we want to vote them each functional segment?
I think so.
Yeah, I do too. All right, so I'd like to move that the total for general government for the fiscal year 25,
No, 26.
fiscal year 26, thank you, budget with no override. Vote to accept the general government fiscal year 26 no override budget of $1,604,218.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
I'm just going to be abstaining just for lack of time in the position for some of these items, and not for lack of agreement, but I feel it's best for everything. So,
Because you just walked in.
and hopefully in the future, maybe we'll be able to change up people.
Vote.
Aye.
Aye. Next.
All right, moving to public safety. I move that we accept the public safety budget for fiscal year 26 with no override in the amount of $4,352,545.
Seconded.
Any discussion?
No.
Vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain. Sorry.
Next.
All right, moving to education. I move that we accept the education budget for fiscal year 26 with no override at $16,765,463.
Seconded.
Discussion?
No.
Hearing none.
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Thank you.
I move to accept the highways and streets budget for fiscal year 26 with no override at $714,627.
Seconded.
Discussion? Hearing none.
Aye.
Aye.
I move that we accept the solid waste budget for fiscal year 26 with no override at $19,700.
Seconded.
Discussion? Vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
I move that we accept the human services budget for fiscal year 26 with no override at $467,987.
Seconded.
Discussion? Vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
I move that we accept the culture and recreation budget for fiscal year 26 with no override at $549,774.
Seconded. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, second.
Discussion?
No.
Hearing none.
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
I move that we accept the debt service budget for fiscal year 26 with no override at $405,480.
Seconded.
Discussion?
No.
None. Vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
And I move that we accept the insurances budget for fiscal year 26 with no override at $2,711,986.
Seconded.
Discussion? Seeing none. Vote.
Veronica Cal, aye.
Laura Schiffern, aye.
All right, do we need to do the grand total?
Sure.
All right. I move to accept the grand total budget for fiscal year 26 with no override at $27,591,780.
Seconded.
Discussion? Only that, as you can see, it's less than 0.5% over last year. Vote,
Aye.
and I. Okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn? Is there anything else we have to
Second.
discuss?
Did we get the motion?
Yep, no, you did the warrant stuff already, so yep, we're good.
Yeah, that was stated before.
Yeah.
All right, so motion again, in case it wasn't made.
Okay, at 10:14 PM has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Vote.
Veronica Cal, aye.
Laura Schiffern, aye. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.